Hello, I am the Dark Fae, and welcome to Dagon by HP Lovecraft. I think that's how you pronounce it, that's how I'm going with it. But this is like a narrative of like one of HP Lovecraft's short stories, I think. I don't really know much about it, but there's a lot about like, you know, descending into madness and eldritch horror, and I'm very much into that kind of thing, and it's spooky season, so why not go with it? So let's just start. Well, let's see, what's trivia? Oh, there's stuff. Okay. I haven't recorded in a very long time. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of HP Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. So I think it's a bit like a visual novel or like a, you know, interactive story.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
That already scared me. Okay. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Oh, that's cool. I like that there's like a little bit of extra stuff, you know? I haven't recorded in a very long time, so I apologize for that. And I'm a little out of practice, and I'm already spooked. I don't know why. I don't think it's that scary, but just when you yourself are playing the game, it's very different. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the elder sign. Oh, okay, that's what the little trivia things were. This little tree branch kind of a thing. You can also access all of the found facts later in the main menu. Okay, but first, I'm gonna turn off the sound a little bit, because it's loud in my ears, and it's scary. Scary. Let's go to 50. Okay. Resume.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Oh. You're going to throw yourself. Okay, so I can't. Oh.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Oh. Okay.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
I'm just... Aha! Achievement unlocked. The secret. Okay, so you go to right click to zoom in. I wasn't paying attention. Dagon is written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlistment despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I chose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or a piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. Letters to Reinhard Kleiner, HP Lovecraft. But I feel like I already missed something. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She is certain to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which unfit me for the army. I am Providence. The Life and Times of H.P. Lovecraft. S.T. Joshi? Okay. Anything else? Zoom?
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Okay. What is that? Oh, the Huns. I like this. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the term Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on 27th July of 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. This is 1,000 years ago. The Huns under the King Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German hey. Offense. Their refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. Okay, I don't think I'm missing anything. I can't turn like all the way around. So, okay. That is spooky.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Why was there such an emphasis on alone? Are you sure I can't, like... I just want to look for secrets now. Secret should not be scared in a game, just look for secrets. Spoosh.
When I finally found myself adrift and free,
Solitude and
I had
unbroken
but little
blue.
idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Oh, it's very pretty.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Okay, it's very pretty, but this would be terrifying to just be like adrift in the ocean with on just like a tiny boat and not like know where you are. Couldn't do it. That's the moon. Is there anything else that I can look really hard at? Sorry, I've been listening to a lot of Critical Role lately, so I'm kind of stuck in Jester default mode. That's probably gibberish for a lot of you, but okay, well.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
I can't.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know.
Why the
My
sudden
slumber,
spooky
though troubled and
music?
dream-infested, was continuous.
Whoa! That's gross. Oh, wait, I'm on... What? Can I click on anything? No, there's no trivia here. Okay,
When
hello,
at
weird
last
squid
I awoke,
creatures.
It was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see,
Gross.
and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
It's not that far.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery,
No.
I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I think that seeing this when you first wake up, I think that's appropriate.
For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Especially if there's that. So I think you're spot on.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Ew, look at that one. Trivia?
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
Yeah, I mean, we can see it, so you don't really need words, buddy.
There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Oh, what's that thing? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to look at. Oh, my boat. Oh, the squelching.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
I'm in hell.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
That was not the only explanation that I went with, and that was actually far more like scientific and logical than I was expecting in this situation.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Yeah, like how did the boat get this far inland?
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
I don't think anyone would want to eat them. Like, look, there's like a hill that's just fucking breathing over there. Like, no thank you. No, don't touch the fish. You don't know where it's been.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
But you could see the tentacles above it.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Okay, I'm still concerned that there's a big breathing hill over there.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
So, you were trying to get out of the sea, and then you're here, and now you want to get back to the sea? Trivia. No?
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
You were here for 3 days?
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
What is this? Okay, I guess we'll go to the horizon. Zoom? Okay, let's just go. Oh, don't step on it!
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Hummock? But wow, dude, this would be a really cool D&D set. Sorry, I translate everything to Dungeons and Dragons. This would be an awesome D&D thing. I should make like a Cthulhu, Lovecraftian kind of a setting. It'd be awesome. Like, what are you? Is that your face and those are your hands? Or are those, you know, it's pretty cool when there's creatures and you just have no idea like what way is up. Oh, the squelching. Is that a whale? No trivia about the whale? Oh God.
I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Okay. Why is nothing coming up? Oh.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
What is that glimmering thing at the base? I thought it was a pair of eyes. For a
an
second.
intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Okay.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night,
Maybe because you're in a fishy hellscape.
but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain,
What is a gibbous moon?
I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
Why?
Without the glare of the parching sun,
Oh,
my journey
right.
would have cost me less energy.
It's so squelchy.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset.
Yeah, isn't that like the go-to if you're in like a wasteland or in a desert? You travel at night when it's cooler, so the sun doesn't just fucking destroy you.
Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Soon. But it's dark. It was scary. Oh.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
Oh, that's just... Oh.
I felt myself on the edge of the world.
I was like, I can't look down into the pit, and then I realized that this is the pit.
Peering over the rim into
Oh,
a
there we go.
fathomless chaos of eternal night.
Please don't jump.
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Mm-hmm.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded
Oh.
fairly easy
Oh.
footholds for a descent.
Okay, but it's also like gross and slimy and like covered in weird goo.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Oh god.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
Seeing the word Stygian a lot lately.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Sat there a second ago.
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Okay. Trivia. I have no idea how long this story is, by the way. If you do know the story,
That it was
Props.
merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
but no spoilers.
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
You think?
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
When has nature ever made anything perfectly rectangular? Like... Ah. Zoom? Oh, that much
For
bigger.
despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith,
Mm-hmm.
whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Whoop. Is there anything else? Okay. So squelchy.
The moon,
Oh,
near the zenith shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope.
What are these shapes that weren't there before?
Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
I mean, that kind of looks like a lot of fish and squid things. And then there's water. And then what look like ghostly spirits. And then some not very nice faces of bad things. Like, okay. Any secrets? No, I just gotta go with this.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me, and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
Hey, a turtle. And some sharks. And seahorses and jellyfish.
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Is that Cthulhu in the center?
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later work, such as telling the story through carvings, journals and characters' notes, islands emerging from the ocean, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details. Okay.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well.
Is that a face in like ugh.
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
That's pretty spooky.
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
That's one of these last ones. I don't like the top one.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet.
Hands?
Shockingly wide and flabby lips. Glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
I really don't like the top one.
Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Okay, you can think that.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me.
Something going to rise out of the water.
Then, suddenly, I saw it.
What?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface,
Oh, hello.
the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
I can't do anything about this, can I?
Fast, Polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then.
Are you sure you weren't mad before?
My frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
I can't. Okay, let's just go then.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Oh, okay, no, you're totally mad. Right. Oh, it's raining!
Distinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat.
I'm back at the boat.
At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
Thank goodness.
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
Achievement unlocked. Delirious but free.
In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
Yeah, people normally don't pay attention to things that are like ravings, you know?
Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Is this why he, like, succumbed to morphine addiction? The journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again for the first time since his teenage years. Dagon, published in 1917, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is, or ever can be, above warfare, until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Oops. Okay. Very interesting. Can I leave? That was unnecessary to make the door that scary.
A celebrated ethnologist,
okay,
and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Ah, that's what the title is. Dagon. I don't know, was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped through the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In HP Lovecraft's note, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Okay, that's pretty cool. Anything else to zoom? That's continuing. Zoom? Okay, I don't think.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
You're too conventional for me. Like, you're not hipster enough. Oh, more trivia. August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Oh. Curious. Okay. Ooh, more. The Marketer. Lovecraft's attempts to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine, where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. From an ad for Curtis Woodwork. Curtis Woodwork embraces both the usual structural units and the cleverest contrivances of built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dressers, buffets, and cupboards. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and mellowest craftsmanship which energetic enterprise can command, and made to conform rigidly to the architecture of each particular type of home. The cost, considering the quality, is amazingly low, and a trademark on the individual pieces prevents any substitution by careless contractors. It's a little wordy, but okay. More zoom? No? What was that sound? Oh. I clicked and I didn't see anything. The scientist. These days the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was subject to a wide debate. After the author used it in the story, critics pointed out that man of science was a more appropriate term to employ. He admitted, in defense of Dagon, that if Dagon were to be reprinted, he would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined as an analog to artist, to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet, in the 19th and early 20th century, scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Among other things, it was gender-specific, indicating that science was an endeavor to be pursued by only one sex. Ha! The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. Well, alright. What else is there?
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
That monster?
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave.
Yeah, it's not really gonna help you.
I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12. In order to look and feel like an adult, in his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13th of February 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I've never tasted intoxicating liquor and never intended to, having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blends or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. It's kind of why I don't really like drink, apart from the fact that it makes me sick. It's like I don't really like not being in control of my actions, but also sometimes I wish I didn't have control of it, so who knows. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I'm rather in favor of prohibition, the prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as of any other. Okay. Oops. Sure. Oh, that's the thing. But, okay. Well.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat.
I mean,
after my escape
maybe.
from the German man of war.
That seems entirely possible.
This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply.
Oh, okay.
I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Whoa. I mean, it's totally possible. The deep ocean is a terrible, frightening, unknown place. Secrets?
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Oh. Oh, he blocked it?
It shall not find me.
It might.
God, that hand!
What? Oh, it's spooky.
The window! The window!
I can't turn. Oh! From madness to oblivion. Okay. Well, I guess that is Dagon. That was a very interesting experience. I could see a very Lovecraft. Very Lovecraft indeed. That was cool. I hope you enjoyed. Definitely, I feel like Lovecraft's like cosmic horror. It's not like, it's very different kind of horror. Like I said, I think in the beginning, it's like very atmospheric and very like focused on like kind of the story or kind of like the little layers of lore that are kind of in it. So that was good. It wasn't too bad. It was quite creepy, but it wasn't like blah in your face scary, you know. But this was cool. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, thank you so much for watching. And maybe I wonder if there are any other like Lovecraftian sort of games or experiences, you know, to look at. But this is on Steam if you want to, I don't know, play it for yourself, see what it's like with headphones and, you know, a full screen and a dark room. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for notifications when I put out new videos. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!